Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unanswered Questions. Sometimes during our live broadcast, we just don't have enough time to answer all the amazing questions.
Sometimes?
Well, often.
Often.
Often we do. So in this monthly little video roundup, we're going to go through some of the top upvoted questions we just didn't get any time to answer in our broadcast.
I love this part, right? I mean, based upon the system that you design with our broadcast studio, it's so cool that the teens have an opportunity to interact with us during our live events to ask us questions privately, which is kind of cool. But like you say, we never have the opportunity to answer all of them, and this is just a great way to answer all the other questions that are coming in.
First question. What would be the reasonable age to start on social media?
What do you think?
I think the recommended age of the 13 that most social networks have are a good entry point, I think. That's kind of an age where you're learning to communicate and interact with other people. So, give or take a couple years. I mean, depending on maturity level and whatnot.
I think that's the key. I think, it's most of the social media programs and vendors out there, you have to be 13 to join in anyway. But just because somebody's 13 doesn't mean that they should be allowed on something like TikTok by themselves is a good example. So I don't think it's necessarily the age. It's more about the maturity level of the kids, but also when it comes to allowing your kids to get online, especially at younger ages, I think it's all about allowing a little bit of agency with the kids so that they can learn by their own mistakes in a reasonable way that is age appropriate, and then combined with parental modeling of technology, because kids will model our behavior, right? So if we're saying don't do something and we're doing it, we're kind of sending a mixed message. And then you want to combine that with parental participation, parental communication, and parental overwatch. So you combine those five together and then mix it with the kids getting online. And some of the more appropriate, like Kinzu is a really good example. I think Kinzu is just a really good messaging app that has all kinds of other things built into it that is kind of like a social media platform with training wheels for kids, right? And so get them used to doing that kind of stuff and then let them grow as they start to show digital maturity.
Yeah. What do you post if you don't want to give too much information to Meta and Google and don't tend to use those sites?
Go for it.
Well, you can put in some static content. I mean, we talk about leveraging social media, so it's not as if you have to necessarily be active on all the major platforms. But if you have at least an account with some descriptions that you choose and you tailor for what you want those social media networks to see about you, you don't have to be there every day, maybe once a month, post something, but just have it there, put your name there so you own your first page of Google.
I do think for students for grades 10 and under, it's more about the privacy, security, and safety aspect, right? Like minimize any kind of personally identifiable information. And, if you want to use your first name, that's great, but stay away from first name, last names, addresses, phone numbers, all that kind of stuff. But once you get into grades 11 and 12, it's a different mindset, right? Because we do want colleges and universities, especially those who are going to be offering scholarships or grants, or employers who want to offer you a job, to get a little bit more insight into who you are. So just some thoughts.
Yep. I clicked on a free Roblox link and my account got hacked. Is there a way for me to get my account back?
It's yours.
Well, that depends on what was taken and how the hack happened. Yes, Roblox does have you can recover your account, recover your password, gain your access. Will you get your money back if they say stole money from your account? Well, that does depend on Roblox and their systems in place, if they'll do that or not. But, this is a very common scam we see happening. So can you get your account back? Go through the recover my account, recover my password settings. And if you can't do that, unfortunately, your account might be lost. But there are some steps to take first.
Yeah. Next one.
What is two-step verification?
I'll take that one on. Most of the major platforms, the big ones like YouTube, Instagram, all the big ones, they give you the ability to control others from accessing your accounts if they happen to get your password. So what two-factor authentication does is, one, you just sign up for it. So a good example, Instagram, IG. If somebody gets your password and attempts to sign into your account using a device that you don't own because you signed up for two-factor authentication, then Instagram will immediately send a code to your own personal phone that you registered with so that only you can see the code. So if as the hacker, I can't see the code, I can't get access. Only you can. So that's the beauty of it. The other beauty of two-factor authentication is that if you do get a code coming to your phone, it tells you somebody does have your password. So it's important that you change it. I actually believe that if we were all to move to two-factor, what's also known as multi-factor authentication, we would see the number of account takeovers drop dramatically.
Oh, most certainly.
Yeah.
But it's not usually on by default.
No.
I mean, some social networks are getting there. Definitely banks are getting there. I think all banks I'm aware of have two-factor by default. But double check your settings. All major platforms have two-factor. Use it. Do you prefer, are online credit cards safe? So are you talking about like privacy.com, where it's a website where you can enhance your privacy by you basically purchase prepaid credit cards and you use those to pay for things online? It's an additional privacy enhancing step. And yeah, like using something like privacy.com, although it's not available here in Canada, but in the United States, something like that is totally fine.
Yeah, I use credit cards all the time when I'm doing online shopping. And, as long as the site that I'm using is reputable, it's using encrypted HTTPS protocol, I feel pretty good about that, right?
Yeah.
Like I haven't had an issue.
Now, if you're talking about something like you see a listing to buy a prepaid online credit card and it's not through a reputable service like privacy.com, then we're getting into some potentially problematic areas.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, use something like privacy.com or something like that.
Yeah.
For Face ID or passwords?
I use both. I use primarily Face ID to get into my phone, but if my phone is dead for a little bit of while, then you have to use your password first to get in, combined with your facial ID. So I've kind of doubled up on it. Just to give it a little bit more security. But, facial ID has proven, especially on the iDevices, to be extremely secure. Yeah. Right? So,
yeah.
And it's very convenient. The only time is if you're wearing a mask, right, during COVID. However, Apple has now, with their iWatch, kind of allows you now, even if you're wearing a mask, to get access.
Yeah, and I know they're working on tech that will Face ID through masks.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
This is a question I think for you. Why are you so cooler than any other boomers?
Because your mom says I'm just a big kid. I don't know about cooler. It's just, one of the things that I like to do is I like to stay current with what youth and young adults are doing online, right? It's, if we're going to communicate with young people, then we have to speak their language. And so that's what I kind of pride myself on. So, but at heart, I'm just a big kid.
How do I remove a rat, a remote access Trojan, or detect a virus like that?
Go for it.
Basically, antivirus solutions are your go-to stop. Bitdefender, Norton, McAfee, like those, like the major branded internet protection antivirus software are what you're going to use for that.
Yeah, we use Bitdefender, right?
Yeah, we use Bitdefender primarily on our system.
It's a good program. I was using another big name product before we used Bitdefender, but you kind of convinced me, Dad, you got to try Bitdefender. So, and when I tried it, it was actually picking up on stuff that this other big name brand wasn't picking up on. So,
Yeah, so
but that's how you deal with it.
Yeah, and if you get one, downloading and installing antivirus to remove it is generally going to be your first step at defense.
Right. Another issue with the rats, and we talk about it in some of our programs, is the issue that some of them could allow you to take control over your webcam, right? So that's why one of the things that we say is that when you're not using your laptops, close them or get a little Band-Aid, like the little round ones that they put on you if you have an injection, put that on there. Or on our laptops, we have, I have a little slider that goes over mine. Now, what about phones? Cameras on phones, they're not as vulnerable, right?
Not as vulnerable because the options available for viruses and hacks are much more limited. Right. Is it possible? Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Potentially more so in Android than Apple. Right. But even Android has antivirus solutions. For example, if you buy, like a Bitdefender for your laptop, you usually get their mobile version for free as part of the package deal.
Right. I mean, so that's why, the laptops, the cameras, close them, a little Band-Aid or a little slider. Or if you have an external webcam, just turn it around so it's facing the other way, right? So
what do I do if someone pulls my IP address?
Well, big deal, right?
Your IP address isn't all that private. Every website you visit, every game you connect into, like on their end, they know your IP address. So it's not as if it's like a license plate. You know, you're driving around, everyone can see it and write down, take a picture of it if they want.
But I mean, an IP address, if I get an IP address, it does give me a generalized location of where you may be located in the world. So
but if I know your license plate, I know you're in what province or state you're in.
Right. But I mean, so another defense to that is if you use a VPN, right? Like if I use a VPN, it spoofs my IP. So who cares if they get my IP? Because it's not really my IP. It's a spoofed IP. Right?
That's
Just a thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a good passcode?
Secret agent, man. No, that's not a good passcode.
Oh, a number, a letter, uppercase, lowercase, generally 6 or more, 8's best.
Yeah. I mean, that's the 4-digit passcodes, not good enough anymore. Minimum 6, if not 8. And like you say, uppercase letter, lowercase letter, a digit, and a number.
Yep.
Yeah.
Best social media app that is safer. You can make your network safer by using privacy and making sure your friends network only people you know and trust.
Yeah.
I mean, they all do the same thing, basically.
Again, I think it gets down to it's not the device, it's not the app, it's not the social network, it's how people use it. Having said that, there's some social networks and social media applications that are less than desirable than others. But again, it all comes down to, if you're on a social media app, are you using the appropriate privacy and security, and are you using good digital literacy when you're communicating with people on that social media app or network? As long as you're doing that, you're reducing the risks significantly. I do think that there's nothing in this world that is safe. We can make things by making sure that we're employing good digital literacy combined with issues surrounding privacy and security.
If you talk about your mental health on social media, will that interfere with college or job opportunities?
I do think you have to be somewhat careful about how you're talking about those things. Like a good example, Discord is, those talking about some of these issues on Discord, because there's some really good places on Discord where people get together to talk about mental health. But Discord is not really indexed by Google per se, so it's not as if it's searchable.
No, someone would have to be
right?
in the channels you're in to see what you're talking about.
So I would stay away from talking about, mental health and those types of issues specific to yourself in the more public. Right?
I guess it depends what your objective is. I mean, if your objective is social justice, or you're looking to talk about, or you're looking to get into a career that's really focused on mental health, then I think different. That could be an advantage for you.
Right.
It depends. I mean, I do think, at least in North American capitalist society we live in.
Here we go.
There's a lot of talk around your physical health,
right.
Employers and making sure they're protected and they're insured against that kind of stuff. But mental health isn't necessarily something that is talked about a lot,
and we should be talking about it more, right?
Oh, most certainly. It should be okay to do that. It's just human nature is in a way that someone looking to hire somebody who's talking about mental health challenges, although given legal stuff, can they make a determination on that? Generally, under health codes and whatnot, they can't. I mean, how do you prove it?
Yourself to think that they wouldn't, right?
But how do they prove that, right? They find something else to ding you on.
Yeah.
So
I would say that if it's specific to your own mental health and wellness, I think talking about it more in a private way with groups is probably the better way to go than making it more public. Again, depending upon, because if you're an advocate, that might be something totally different.
Yeah,
right?
what's your objective?
Yeah, what's the objective?
It's...
Yep.
Is the dark web illegal?
No, it's not. But things that you can do in the dark web can become illegal. But
that's same as the surface web.
That's right. Same thing as the surface web. And just for everybody knows, like the internet, I want you to think of it like an iceberg, right? Like you got the tip that everybody sees. That's what we call the surface web or the light web. That's what Google and Yandex and all the other search engines search. But the biggest part of the internet is what is below the surface that you really don't see. And that's called the deep web. And a part of that is the dark web. And there's some really cool things that happen in the deep web. There are, right? But once you get in the dark web, it can get pretty ugly. So is it illegal to go down there? No. Is it illegal to do things on the dark web? Well, depending upon what you're doing, the answer is yes.
I mean, some people use the dark web to subvert tyrannical governments.
Correct.
So I mean,
correct.
there are good purposes for dark web activity. It depends on how you're choosing to using it.
Yeah. So going down there is illegal? No. Is activity that you're doing down there, could it be illegal? Sure. But same thing on the surface web or the light web.
Yep.
Yeah.
How easy is it to hack someone? Well, it depends. The simplest hack is a phishing website, and I send you a link going, "Hey, I am Instagram support, and here's a link. I fool you. I have the logo and all that stuff there. Password, username. I get your access."
And I can't tell you how many times we get requests from teens and students asking us, "Well, my Instagram account's being hacked, and this is being hacked. Can you help me?" And that's why two-factor authentication can go a long way in helping prevent a lot of this from happening.
Now, if it's like hacking someone randomly into my laptop, Well, modern day laptop security just out of the box is far better than it has been, and is better today than ever.
Yeah.
Still, antivirus is a good option. It does take. It is a bit harder. Usually, you have to convince someone to download something.
I also think the word hack is kind of like the word bullying. Everybody kind of puts every kind of behavior that is less than desirable into this bullying cart, and everything gets labeled bully. Well, a lot of times people say I've been hacked, but when you look at it, they actually weren't hacked, right? Do you know what I'm trying to say there?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, what would be an example?
Well, an account takeover, is that a hack?
Yeah, I would say yes.
Is it?
It's a hack.
What about if
it's unauthorized access?
What if they were DDoS or doxed?
You are disrupting system operations, so I would say it's a hack.
Is it?
Yeah, I'd say that.
All
it's
right.
a hack.
All right.
It's not like a hack in the movies where you gain access to the mainframe.
Yeah. Dun 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 dun.
It's not like that kind of like super cool cyber hack, but I mean, any disruption of a service, I would say is a hack.
All right.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
Opinion on Pinterest.
I don't know. I don't use it.
I don't use it a whole lot. I know playing D&D. I mean, Pinterest is used a lot.
What's
for
D&D?
Dungeons and Dragons.
There you go.
I know Pinterest is used for ideas and catalogs. I don't like Pinterest because you need an account. If you don't have an account and you just want to look at someone's board, it like prompts you, make an account, it's annoying. So, I mean,
Brandon doesn't like to be annoyed.
It's like, yeah, it's nothing wrong with it. It's just not my particular cup of tea. Are you guys Apple users or Samsung users?
Apple. I'm an Apple.
Yes, we're primarily Apple users.
However, we do have PC components as well, right? Like Microsoft, like what you're watching right now, there's a combination. Brandon is using an Apple product right now, but what we're using to broadcast is a PC-based, Microsoft-based, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have Android devices too.
I'm primarily a Apple guy though. What was the commercials? Remember those old commercials with the Apple versus PC? Remember those?
Yeah, that was John Hodgman and Justin Long.
Exactly.
Yeah. Those were Apple's best campaigns.
Yeah, it was.
What is the safest web browser?
Again, I think it depends upon what you want to do, right? Like,
are you looking safest in terms of privacy protection? Well, then you're probably looking at something like Firefox or Brave.
Yeah, Brave.
If you're looking in terms of preventing viruses, Chrome's pretty good for that particular perspective.
We here at the White Hatter, I use 4 different browsers, right? Yep. So depending upon what I'm using it for and the level of privacy and security I want will dictate which one I'm going to use.
Yeah.
So, but if you were looking for one that helps with specifically to your privacy, well, the Brave browser and Firefox would definitely be the way to go.
Mm-hmm. Is it illegal to send unsolicited pictures in your underwear?
Yeah, the answer to that question is it could be.
It depends. Right. I mean, are you using it in a way that is harassment? Well, then yes.
No.
It does depend on the context and also the state or province you're living in, because the laws can change state to state and province to province.
Yeah.
Can someone hack into your car when you're driving to get your location and listen to your conversation?
We've actually read reports where that is now happening, right?
It's difficult.
It's possible.
There has been some laboratory experiments. So these are controlled environments, and oftentimes the attacker, the hacker, does require physical access at first. So doing it remotely wirelessly. Now, there have been some laboratory experiments that have shown to do it wirelessly. So it depends. Is it super common that we've seen? No. Is it possible? Well, I mean, anything's possible.
If rather than hacking a car, why wouldn't I just put in Apple, tag, right?
AirTag, yeah.
Or, go online and buy a cheap GPS tracker and throw it into the car, right?
Yeah.
So,
why do you have so many stickers on your laptop?
Because I'm just a big kid.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty, I guess it's a fairly tech trend. A lot of like computer scientists do it. They just put stickers of things they like or things that are meaningful.
But all the stickers on my laptop, I don't know about yours, but mine, they all mean something to me. Like we've either been there, we've done it, we're using the product, or it sends a specific message that we really enjoy. So that's the reason why. And it looks kind of cool.
How many hats do you have?
We have, I have two hats. I have a traveling hat and then I have an in-school hat. But as you can see on the set, some of our older hats are there as well, right?
Those, like that was like my first hat. I mean,
Right.
they do get kind of yellow
That's,
over time.
that's the problem with these white hats is they get dirty quickly, especially when we were doing so much traveling pre-COVID.
Yeah, I would say when we're mostly doing studio stuff, the hats get preserved much longer.
Yeah, they do. They do. But that's the reason why we have multiple hats is that, you know, they get dirty quickly. I had always had one that I used when I was traveling, and then I had one that I used just when I was local.
Yeah, there's usually what, two on the go, and
Yeah,
then
two on the go.
we have just the old ones lying around for props.
Yeah.
What made you start helping students who are getting bullied?
Probably my past law enforcement career, right? Because that's what we did is we helped people. And then when this started to turn more into the online world, I became interested in it. And so that's the reason why. So yeah, just wanting to help people and not only are we helping youth when it comes to bullying, but we're helping adults as well who are being targeted.
Yeah.
So.
Are password managers like LastPass or Dashlane any good, and do you recommend them?
What do you think?
Oh yeah, we definitely recommend them. They're like some of the best tools in order to manage your digital life. Because I mean, like everything has a password now, so and every password should be different. So the best way to manage that is in a dedicated password manager vault. LastPass, Dashlane, Google Password, Apple Keychain, they're all good and they all serve the same purpose.
Yeah, I use LastPass and digital or Apple Keychain, but I'm not going to lie to you. We also have a hard copy as well that we keep in a very secure location, so that for whatever reason it's lost digitally, we still have an old analog paper pen username and password base as well.
Mm-hmm. I don't know where I heard
just on that note, right? A lot of people, younger people, don't think about this, but for the older people who are watching this, you got to think about, I know it's a little bit morbid, your death. Like when you die in your will, and now I'm going to be handing over stuff because maybe I have stuff that is going to be worth some money in the digital world. Well, if you don't know the username and passwords as my benefactor, if you're in my will, then you won't be able to get access to it, right? So that's another reason why to have that.
That even gets into, am I legally allowed to have access?
Well,
digital rights management.
Apple has given, they now have the ability for you to do that, right?
Apple does, but not,
But how are they going to know?
That's a good question. How are they going to know, right?
How are they going to know? But if you don't share that, like again, we've helped a number of adults whose parents passed. As a result of that, they wanted to get into their social networks or just the password into their personal computers, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it, right? So being able to have that information placed somewhere for your loved ones in case of an emergency or sudden death, I think is an important part. And that's more for the adults that are watching this, right? So, yeah.
I don't know where I heard it from, but is it illegal to not have your real name on social media? Like instead of Bob Joe or something, it's Shiny Star 77.
Yeah, you know, a lot of the social media platforms they require you to use your real, right? But
it's not illegal, but is it against their terms?
That's right. That's where the difference is. It may be a violation of their terms of service. However, how are they going to know?
Yeah. And with the variations of how people are having their names nowadays, I mean, people nowadays have numbers in their names. Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be very, very harder for these networks to determine that. Now, we're talking about North America. Are we talking about something like another country who might have different laws like that? That's a whole other question.
Yeah, and again, I'm getting to the fact if you're under the age of 10, then minimizing personal information like your full name is probably a better way to go. But once you're in grades 11 and 12, I'm actually recommending that you start using your real name because you want to be searchable by, again, college universities, sporting teams, as well as future employers when they Google your name and that kind of stuff. So,
how fast can you take something down?
Again, it depends. It's not so much. It's going to be how busy the platform is. So when I do takedowns, because we do takedowns to help out certain individuals, especially when it comes to nudes that have been posted when they shouldn't have been posted, depending upon the platform, it can happen almost immediately. Depending upon what it is you're looking to have taken down, it could take days, weeks, sometimes even months, right? Depending upon the social media platform you're making an application to. A lot of the bigger ones are pretty good, especially when it comes to child exploitation, child sexual abuse material.
Yeah, that's usually down.
That gets down
quickly.
pretty darn quickly. But when it comes to some of the other stuff that is out there that are maybe clear breaches of terms of service on these platforms, it can take platforms hours, days, weeks, sometimes months to take them down. So on that note, one of the things we have found is that the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So if something's posted and it's in a violation of terms of service, then the more people who report it to that social media platform, the quicker that platform is to take it down. So that is one thing that we have noticed over the years.
How many schools have you visited or helped? We've done over, 300 schools so far?
Yeah, we've 560,000 students and just over 750 schools.
750 schools now?
Yeah, 750 schools. I mean, I think we're getting closer to about 800 now internationally. I mean, you presented to a school in, where was it, Indonesia or?
Thailand.
Thailand, that's right. It was Thailand. I know it was somewhere over there.
Have you ever gotten exposed, such as, data being leaked online?
No.
There have been accounts we've had where there have been data breaches with the servers and the companies, but nothing like explicitly like, here's the documents from my computer here.
Yeah, no.
Nothing like that.
No.
How do you feel about apps that say the app won't work without sharing your location?
Yeah, I mean, a good example, Google Maps. In order for Google Maps to work.
You can use Google Maps without your location.
Can you?
You just have to zoom into where you want to look.
Okay, well that's kind of...
It's not exactly user-friendly, but I know there are some apps.
Or how about the weather app?
You can use that without your location.
I know, but it's not as convenient.
Well, it just won't change the weather based on where you are. You have to manually enter in to the app, I want weather in Victoria or Vancouver or Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, Uber.
I don't use Uber because we don't have it in Victoria.
Well, I did. When
you do. You've used it, yeah.
When we're in the States. So, again, it depends upon the app and the reason for locating. But a good example is, let's say it's just a simple app, a gaming app or something. Why do they need to have your location? Really?
Well, I guess if you're playing Pokemon Go, I mean, it's GPS based, right?
Okay, well, that's different.
Well, the game has to have that.
Yeah.
So
I look at some of these apps that, in order to download, you have to download, give us access to your photo album. Why do you need access to my photo album, right? No.
Yeah.
Get away from me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So again, their whole goal is to try and data mine as much information as they can get from you because that's how they're making their money.
Mm-hmm.
So
how do I refund stuff because I spent $700 on games? Only $700? How do I refund? Well, it depends. It depends on the gaming platform you bought it on. I know for Steam, because I'm a PC gamer, that if you play 2 hours of a game, you can refund it. But if you play anything more than that, then you can't refund it because you've played of it. So you have to read the policy on the gaming website that you have purchased the games on.
I was actually sad over Steam. Because remember, you got me a birthday gift where you were going to let me download some games, and I was able to download them onto my Mac, and then all of a sudden I couldn't do it anymore.
Well, that's because the game you wanted wasn't compatible with Steam, and you also play on a Mac.
It used to be.
Yeah, it used to be, and you play the game on a MacBook.
I know.
Steam on a MacBook.
It was working before, and then they stopped it. It worked just fine. Anyways.
Yeah. All
right, let's move on.
Read the policies and follow the refund procedure.
Blah, blah, blah.
What are the different types of hackers? Well, okay, you got your black hat hackers who use the darkness of the internet to hide what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You have white hat hackers who kind of shine a light to expose what they're doing in the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, I guess people also use the term gray hat hacker, which can be a bit of a problematic term. Basically, you are following within the law, but you are doing things that are aggressive or exploitative. So
which makes you a black.
Your underlying mentality is still malicious.
Yeah. So I've heard white hatters, gray hatters, and black hat hackers. I believe that if you're a gray hat hacker, you're also a black hat hacker, right?
Just because something is legal, it doesn't necessarily mean it's right.
Right.
So the gray hat hacker is a bit of an interesting perspective on things. I break it down to what's your intention. Malicious, then you're probably on the bad side of the spectrum.
Right.
What is sextortion?
Sextortion is when somebody uses something that you did sexually in front of your camera, either via picture or video, and then use it to extort you for money, gift cards, more pictures, more videos. It's something that has really blown up over the past year. It was an issue when we first started 10 years ago. We talked about this issue 10 years ago. And people at that time said, oh, Darren, Brandon, you guys are overreacting. It's not really a big issue. I look at that now and go, yeah, okay. So that's basically what it is. Yeah.
If you have a TikTok on private, can people still see it, right? Well, if it's private, so your videos you post are private, but only people you choose in your friends list can see what you're posting and saying.
However, if a friend decides to, screen record it, and then repost it, it now becomes public.
Yeah. If you have a TikTok account, it's private, but you're not posting anything, you have no friends, then no one's going to see that. I mean,
so
it's sad. It's sad. I mean, you're just posting videos out there to nothing. But, I mean...
But we've had that happen where people have connected with us because they had a private TikTok account that they thought was only for friends. And one of those friends was a frenemy, and they recorded it and then reposted it, right? So, and it became public.
Can I report online bullying without using my name?
Yeah, well, it depends upon where you live. Here in British Columbia, we have the Erase Bullying tool where, yes, indeed, you can report it anonymously.
The problem is that the likelihood of it being solved or dealt with is much lower.
Correct.
Because maybe you need to be contacted to have more information, to get more. Do you have any screenshots? Can you tell me more about it? So you can, depending on where you live and services you have available to you. It's just... is it going to be a success?
Right.
It's better than nothing, but your results may vary.
A lot of the online bullying reporting, it gives you the ability to report anonymously, or at least a lot of the ones that I know of, they do that because they want to encourage people to say something. However, if you're not giving enough information, like you say, then it makes it harder for whoever's going to be acting upon it to act upon it.
But also keep track of the policy of the reporting tool you are using. Although you might not use your name, the message you send might have your IP address.
And the other thing, that's where I was just going to say.
Which is not necessarily always, you can report anonymously, but you also capture the IP address. So it's not that anonymous.
And that's the other thing that I wanted to say is that although some of these programs say report anonymously in their fine print that nobody ever reads, it also says that they're collecting your IP address. And that IP address, depending upon the situation, can be tracked to you. Yeah. Right.
So it can be a little misleading.
Yeah. Just being open and honest, I think, is important. Right.
Why do I get ad for things that I've only talked about? Is it possible I'm being listened to, like from your smart speakers?
Yeah, we get this all the time. No, what the research is now showing us is that these algorithms that these social media vendors and people like Google and their browsers are using are getting so good at analyzing what we're doing that they can kind of learn about what you're thinking and what you like based upon your habits online.
Yeah, I think the best examples we've seen, like big articles around, is someone who's pregnant. Before they know they're pregnant, they're getting ads for like pregnancy supplements and such. But it's like, well, and then they get tested and then they are pregnant.
Right.
So those have been some pretty predominant.
Or another good one is, oh yeah, I was talking to my friends about these new Nike Air shoes that were out, and boom, all of a sudden I got this advertisement on my phone for Nike Air, right? Well, that's because you talk about it also in your social media platform. So, I mean, that's another one that comes around, right? So,
or maybe the social network, maybe a friend of yours or some distant relative has a picture with their shoes, and then you saw that, so they link it to that. It's very advanced AI.
Yeah.
Is using free school Wi-Fi safe?
Yeah, I think schools do a lot of good work about trying to insulate and protect their Wi-Fi systems. So is it safe? Nothing's ever 100% safe, as we always say, but it is safer because at least in most schools, it is being managed by someone from an IT background. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Just understand that when you're using a school Wi-Fi, the IT department or the administrator of the Wi-Fi system can see where you're going and what you're doing.
It depends on the network you're using and their actual infrastructure, but usually there's some kind of monitoring and
a digital trail.
Yeah, that they're using.
Yep.
just for their own liability and insurance
For
reasons.
sure.
If you weren't an online investigator, what would you be doing?
Sleeping.
I could go for a nap.
No, what would I be doing? I'd actually be fully retired, right? Like,
That's true.
I did 30 years in law enforcement, and now I'm still doing this. But this really isn't work for me. It's something that I enjoy doing. But what would I be doing? I'd probably be traveling more. As you know, I've always wanted to buy a big like motorhome and just travel across North America, right? So me and the Griswolds, right?
I think like half our audience will get that reference.
I know. Who are the Griswolds, right?
Yeah, good answer. I mean, I'd probably be doing some kind of media production.
Yeah,
I mean,
you would.
half my job is the online investigations and teaching. The other half of my job is media production.
Yeah, you'd be good at media production. There's no doubt.
I don't know what it would look like, but probably some kind of media production job. Do you play Minecraft?
I don't.
I do. Do you have a gaming PC?
I don't.
Yeah, you have a Mac. I have a gaming PC.
Here we go. Yeah, we get this asked a lot. What are the system specs on our company PC that you also game on and stuff?
Our streaming,
we got all this stuff in the background.
Our streaming computer, and we actually do our broadcast. Yeah. So it's a Ryzen 9. It's a Ryzen 9 5000 series, a Ryzen 9 5900, and then I think I have 4 sticks of 16 gig memory. No, I
don't even remember.
I can't remember.
It just looks like a small nuclear plant to me. That's what it looks like. It's got all these glowing lights. It's got like 50 billion fans on it to keep it cool. You got all these ports on it that you can plug all these things in. I mean, I look at it and it looks like a small nuclear plant. That's what it looks like.
I do need to upgrade the architecture a bit. I mean, we are kind of oversaturating our threads and the lanes available, so I kind of need to get like Threadripper or something.
A Threadripper? Is that what they're called? Ripper?
Well, there's a Threadripper.
As in Jack the Ripper?
No, it's Threadripper because it's just there's a lot of lanes and threads.
Okay.
We have a lot of video capture cards naturally in our system, so the lanes are filled. So I think we need to have some more lanes available for all the video we're doing.
Yeah, true. That's an upgrade for the new year.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for students who would like to be able to do what you do?
Yeah, some of my thoughts is, number one, be a good digital citizen, learn how to code. Coding's where it's at, especially when it comes to job opportunities and being financially secure in the future. So those would be the two biggest ones. And then, if you decide to go on to post-secondary, I always say, you may want to think about taking computer science, but, we were talking to a person who worked with us for a while. He had his degree in computer science and he couldn't find a job because he was a hardware guy, right?
Yeah, in terms of like computer cybersecurity, you don't necessarily need post-secondary. No. It helps. Generally, what most employers are looking for those jobs are your certificates.
Yes.
So there's a lot of like certificate issuing companies. I mean, IBM has one, CSSO has
Google has one.
Yeah, get your certificates. And they're pretty much just lesson plans. You do an exam and you pass your test and then you get certified. And the more certifications you have, generally speaking, the easier time you will have to finding a cybersecurity job.
I'm finding that, cybersecurity is like a trade. And, when you think trade schools, you think like building, electrical, mechanical. Well, I think the cybersecurity is going the same way. It's becoming a trade. And so they're creating like these trade schools now. It's going to be interesting to see where universities go in the future because unless you're going to become a doctor or somebody who needs to be licensed to do something like a teacher or a biologist, you need your degrees in order to do that. But, to be somebody like us who wants to be a pen tester or a white hat hacker or somebody teaching you don't need a university degree. Having said that, you got a master's degree in it. But,
mine's in communications because I studied how hackers manipulate people through communication methods, which is a very weird field of study.
Yeah, but for somebody who wants to be like a cybersecurity professional, there's like trade schools now specifically designing programs to meet that need.
That's true.
And it would be far cheaper to go that
Yeah, it's usually
route.
much cheaper, and you finish sooner, and you make more money faster.
Yes.
So,
Like I'm seeing students right now graduating from university with degrees. They can't find jobs, but yet if they had certifications in cybersecurity or coding, they'd be gobbled up like that.
yeah, it's true.
Right? So it's just really interesting to see where the world is going and how things have changed even over the past 5 years.
Yeah.
So anyways.
And those were our questions from September. So we're back. We're looking forward to doing this probably once a month as we do our broadcasts, and we get lots and lots of questions.
Lots.
We do. So these were just the top voted questions from students in our live broadcasts. And on that note, we will see you all next time. Sound cool?
See you, everybody.
Bye-bye.